You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast, the hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, we're coming into a great podcast. We certainly appreciate you tuning in. I know I say that every show and it sounds redundant, but I really do. From the bottom, the deepest wells of my soul, down near my feet. Is that where the deepest wells of your soul is near? Anyway, wherever that deep well is where I'm at the bottom of my appreciation for you as a listener on the Chris Voss Show. And I'm not laughing because I'm full of crap. I'm laughing because I don't know, whatever I just made up, the bottom of your feet being actually the bottom of the feet would be your soul, right? The sole of your feet. Wow. Who knows? I'm like a genius. I just don't know it. That or I'm too stupid to recognize it. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. We certainly appreciate you guys being here. Go to youtube.com/Chris Voss. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss. All the groups we're in, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, all those wonderful places. We have another amazing author on the show today. He is the author of the newest book. You can pre-order it now. It's coming out May 3rd, 2022. F.A.R.T. F-A.R.T. Top secret. No kids allowed. The F.A.R.T. Diaries under hardcover. Peter Bakalian?
You got it. You got it on the front shot. Thank you.
There we go. On the front. You normally ask that before the show, but we jump right into it. So he is, of course, going to be on the show. As you can already tell, he's intervened with himself, which we don't mind at all. He is an Emmy-winning Writers Guild nominated screenwriter who began as an intern at Walt Disney Studios in Burbank. He later joined the production team of Thundercats at Rankin Bass Productions and went on to write for Curious George, The King and I, Santa Baby. Is that Santa Baby?
Santa Baby.
Oh, Santa Baby.
Yep.
Big and Small, and Clifford's Puppy Days. In addition to his family, he loves the same things he did as a kid, unlike me, who hates everything he did as a kid. World's fairs, when he can find them, surfing, pinball, and restoring bicycles. Welcome to the show, Peter. How are you?
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
There you go. Thanks for coming. We certainly appreciate having you on. Do you collect pinball machines or something?
I had a pinball machine, and the problem with owning a pinball machine is that once you beat it, you don't respect it anymore. And so you get bored with it, and you've got this, it's like how people have exercise machines in their houses that they never use. You start putting things on it as a table. So that's why pinball arcades are kind of sacred to me. I'm on the Jersey Shore, where we grew up playing pinball, and there's a wonderful museum in Asbury Park. If one has the chance to go, it's really terrific.
Awesome sauce. So, what motivated you want to write this book, and why did you title it F.A.R.T? Top secret.
Well, I guess the inspiration was my son. He turned out great. But like every parent, you worry. Any new parent, you worry. And they don't come with a manual, kids. Although people put out parenting manuals telling you that they're going to work and all this other stuff. And nothing quite was connecting. And, I was very nervous. And one night while I was driving home, there was this commercial that came on after like 11 p.m. So, it was the cheap time. And it said, parents, you can have a well-behaved child in less than 30 minutes. We know the secret. We're scientists. Order the last parenting manual you'll ever need. Well, I almost drove off a cliff. I thought 30 minutes. I'll give these guys, $30,000. You can tell me how to do that. So, and then it hit me. What if my kid reads it? Right? He'll know the secret.
He'll know the secret.
Or they'll use it against me.
Yeah.
So
sounds like my first 9 ex-marriages.
Yeah. So luckily, I sort of calmed down, and I realized this just had to be hype. It was another, Vegematic kind of thing. But it got me to thinking that if there were such a manual, if such a manual were real, what would it look like? And it would have to be a secret manual, and not the way that these loudmouths were going about it. It would have to be not scientists. It would have to be parents. It would have to be kid-weary, grizzled parents sharing every dirty trick they ever knew about raising kids and keeping them in line. It would have to be a secret society. And I came up with the name F.A.R.T, which is Families Against Rotten Teens, which is ultimately, that's what you're after. And
there you go.
that sounded right. So if kids found out about F.A.R.T, no one would believe them because it's an infantile thing to say. There's this organization called F.A.R.T, and no one will believe the kids anyway. So you can't buy this manual. One day a book will come in the mail. It'll look like a cookbook, but you open it up, it's actually your F.A.R.T manual because you're a parent and F.A.R.T has always kept track of everything. And you get your manual and you're in. You're part of it. You're part of the conspiracy. And it's great unless your kid finds out. And in this book, a kid finds out and has to prove that it exists. And that's what kicks off the book. So it's really two books in one. It's an adventure, and it's also this manual. We've actually got part of the manual in the book.
So is it a story of the kid who finds the manual, or is it a manual hidden in a story?
It's a kid who finds the manual and he loses it. Or he doesn't see it again. So he stumbles upon it. He only gets a glimpse of it. So he and his friends are out to prove in this first book that F.A.R.T really exists. So it's like trying to prove that the Illuminati exists. It's a kind of those conspiracy things where nothing is as it seems. And it's a paranoid mystery. So for kids, and I guess that's going to be nightmare fuel for some of them. But it claims that there's a vast parental conspiracy, and there really is a vast parental conspiracy. When parents all get together and the kids are on the other side of the yard, parents are always sort of talking to each other about what works with their kids, and it's stuff that you never see in manuals. So the bottom line is it's written almost in the same vein as Mad Magazine or National Lampoon when I was growing up. That it looks like a manual, that it seems actual bona fide, but it's of course kind of ridiculous. But it's got to be funny, and that was the whole point. It's just a laugh.
A good entertainment piece. Who's it targeted to? What age group?
Well, it's appropriate for middle graders and up, and I think the publisher is using that as their touchstone. But it's just funny, and it's pretty accessible. I mean, I don't know if I should mention Diary of a Wimpy Kid, but I just did. That's kind of the gold standard, where you've got something that's there's a lot of illustrations and graphics in this book, as there is in that one, and it appeals to a broad spectrum. And I think a lot of parents are going to get a kick out of it, but it is written for kids.
I'm seeing some of the different pictures that are in here, and it's written kind of like in a diary format. Diary 1, Diary 2. It's very kid graphic friendly, and stuff, and has a lot of funny stuff in it. I'm seeing a lot of the Mad Magazine sort of stuff in the back of it.
That's the manual's in the back. We finally reveal it. I hate to give away the story, but it's along for the ride. That's cool. But you asked me who this is for. It's for reluctant readers. I was a reluctant reader growing up. And because I'm reading comic books and Mad and National Lampoon and this stuff.
That's what I was doing.
And which is fun. But and my son was a reluctant reader, and he reads now, and I read now, obviously. But that's really who I want to get to.
Yeah. I mean, I was a reluctant reader. I hated reading about history and, all the stuff they gave me in school. But yeah, it was a Mad Magazine and all the variations of Mad that were out there. What was the other ones? There was a Mad Magazine, and there was
Cracked.
Cracked. They have a YouTube channel now and stuff.
They do.
Cracked and Mad Magazine. I was so heartbroken when I found out it was shuttering. I think they're just putting out old episodes now or something. But yeah, it's definitely fun and interesting, and I love some of the funny stuff that you put into it. F.A.R.T, top secret, no kids allowed. Families Against Rotten Teens. What are maybe some favorite little stories you want to tease out, or?
Well, I could talk about some of the content that's in there. The original title of the manual, which F.A.R.T was not the original title. The original title of the manual was How to Raise Your Rotten Kids Until They're Ready for Jail, which the
Wow.
publisher thought was a little harsh, and maybe.
That is funny though.
Yeah, well, you got
I actually thought that's what you're supposed to do, but I don't have kids, so that's probably why.
When you open the manual, it looks like a manual.
Yeah.
And there are advertisements and products in there that only parents can buy. And there's also tips from other parents. One of the tips that a parent gives in there is that if you want to look like a genius to your kid when he comes up to you to help him with his homework, what you should do is quietly buy the teacher's edition of whatever his textbook is.
Oh.
Get the answers, and then you can talk to your kid so your kid will be in awe of you. There's little stuff like that you can use just to, keep your kid off balance. There's an ad for a service called PermaSmile, which is a dental service, which will give your kid a permanent smile. It's like orthodontia, but they will smile forever.
Oh.
And so it's nice having a pleasant kid around,
Yeah.
There's a camera that will stop kids from doing a photobomb. Basically, the camera can detect when their faces are starting to contort into a nasty expression. And the camera will shoot out 40 gallons of compressed water.
Holy crap.
Yes. And
40 gallons? That seems like a lot.
Well, it's compressed water.
I thought my parents were awful. I mean, my parents weren't awful, but
they'll
they
be
spank
fine.
us every now and then. So
they'll make it through.
Yeah. 40 gallons.
There's a thing called HypnoTrip where you tell your kids you're taking them to a very expensive theme park, and you pile them into the minivan and you insert the HypnoTrip DVD. And depending on the HypnoTrip DVD that you've chosen is where they're actually going to go. So, the minivan has those screens that come down. You put in the DVD, and a hypnotist comes on and tells them that they've gone to this theme park. They've eaten everything they wanted. They've gone on every possible ride, and then they'll wake up. They think they've actually done this, and the DVD comes with commemorative pencils that you can give your kids. So it's nice. They got something. They got something
for not being annoying during a card. I actually like this. I never had kids, and my nieces and nephews sometimes would call me up and be like, our parents are being mean to us. And I'd be like, well, if you want to come over to my house, it's a fun palace over here. We have like video games and everything else. I go, but you'll probably end up having to stay in some of the crate cages that we have for the dogs when they're puppies, because I can't have you running around the house making a mess. You're gonna have to go in the backyard where the dogs go, and you're gonna have to probably, I don't know, set up a lemonade stand if you want some food or something.
Yeah.
You got to figure out a way to raise some money. I start telling them all this just plain and straight, right?
Yeah.
And they just sit there in horror and just go, then they run back to their parents. Never let Chris babysit us.
It's Uncle Buck. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll call up my brother. Hey, you want me to babysit your kids, man? I mean, I'm going to Vegas. I maybe I can give them some lessons at Spirit Rhino or something. And then they're just like, never let Chris. And it's beautiful. Now if I could just get people on to call me when they need to move. But this might be a book that I could use to make sure that they want to come around. I'll be like, it says in the manual that I should do this. So there you go. Yeah, this does look like a lot of fun. Looks like a lot of cool stuff that's in here. I would have fun reading it because it's just pretty goofy. And the secret thing now you have me wondering if my parents weren't part of the Illuminati as well. Maybe there's something I don't know.
I can't tell you. See, I am a parent, and I really can't tell you. I'd like to.
Oh, so it's one of those if I told you I'd have to kill you sort of things. It's ours. So is this your first book?
It is my first book.
Awesome.
I've written mostly screenplays, as we talked about, for Curious George and Santa Baby and all this other stuff. The interesting thing, when you're writing screenplays, you're writing if you're writing for a show, you're writing for characters that already exist. There's a formula to the show, and there's not a lot of room for you to do anything all that's original except whatever the plot is and whatever you can get those characters into. And when you hand in the script, you never see them again. until it goes on television, and it bears very little resemblance to whatever you wrote.
Yeah.
And it's a little frustrating, although, it pays well and it's quick, but it's very frustrating that if you really want control, you have to sit down and write a book, because then you really make that happen. So you create original characters, and the only thing you answer to is a story editor. And I've got a great one at Simon & Schuster, Karen Nagel, and they really want to bring out the best in you, which is very different from television. Very different, really different. So I wanted to really try it. So I set aside a good chunk of time and wrote the entire book. It wasn't a book proposal. It was the whole book. And that's what I handed in. And I said, this is what it is. It isn't anything else. A lot of times you go to if you're pitching an idea to a studio, in my former life anyway, they'll say, that's great, but can you do it this way? And can you add this? And can you try that? And after all, and in the end, it's not even yours anymore. You don't even know what you're writing. It's goop. So this was kind of liberating in that sense. And who knows? I hope someone gets a laugh out of it. It was a lot of fun to write.
It definitely looks fun. Do you see it becoming maybe a series, or are you going to work on other projects?
It is a trilogy.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So in the first book, they have to prove that F.A.R.T exists. In the second part, they've got to figure out how to stop it. And the second book is how they actually create a revolution. And the third book is how it all resolves and reveals what F.A.R.T actually is. The other kicker in the book is that F.A.R.T is getting more high tech, and they're moving away from the manual, and they're going into what they're calling the brain modem, where you can just insert a chip into your kid, and with a remote, you can actually get the kinds of results that you want with your kid. And I thought this was sort of a stupid pipe dream until I realized it's probably more possible than the manual from what I'm reading these days. So
the other thing the other thing I always threaten my niece and nephew with, I'm like, well, my kids are still at military school. They'll be there till they're 18, and then I'll go see them and see how they turned out. Have you guys ever considered military school? Like they run off. So this is going to be fun. It'd probably make a great movie, wouldn't you think?
It could. It's very visual. As I said, there's a lot of graphics and illustrations. The initial reviews that have come back from reading it, people pre-reading it, is that it moves very quickly, and I was very happy to hear that. And each chapter throws you into the next, which is what you'd hope for, kind of a page turner. But I'd be very content if we get the trilogy done in a way that everybody's happy with it and kids enjoy it. That's really why I wrote it. There you
go. Anything more you want to plug out on the book, Peter?
No, you've plugged it away beautifully.
It is fun to look at. I can see how it's a fast read because the pages are short. There's not a lot of words, lots of pictures, and it gets into fun stuff. You're holding dynamite in your hands.
This is the Easy Eye edition right here.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. Holy crap.
I know. We went big. This is the official F.A.R.T logo. The folks at Simon & Schuster came up with it. This is just a great job. So I think, I don't know, I kind of want to get this on T-shirts or something. I probably will.
Jeans. I wonder how many parents are going to buy this book thinking it's real.
Well,
good. Maybe it is a manual for these damn teens. All my parents' friends, they always post on Facebook, I don't know about these teen years, and I'm like, well, they did have birth control, so your fault. It was available. Anyway, it's wonderful to have you on. It was wonderful to have you on, Peter. Do you have any .coms? I think you have one coming up, or a place where you can find you on the interwebs.
We're going to have a couple coming up. One is peterbakalian.com, which is going up Monday. There's going to be a link on that website where kids can go to it, and there will be a link where they can hack into F.A.R.T's website.
Oh wow!
And that's just about done. So, and part of the story is that these kids actually hack into F.A.R.T's website. So we're creating the back door into F.A.R.T that kids can break into, and then we're on Amazon right now, and there's just put in Peter Bakalian, and there I'll be. And
awesome sauce. That sounds like a lot of fun, man. It's got a 3-dimensional virtual aspect to the book. Kids love that sort of stuff. I mean, nowadays, I would have loved it when I was reading J.R. Tolkien, if I could have gone on some website and I don't know, seen more and stuff. Back when I had J.R. Tolkien books, they didn't really have any graphics. They had the maps, and that was about it.
Well, I worked for Rankin Bass Productions, and they did The Hobbit. The first Hobbit back in the 70s. It was sponsored by Xerox, of all people, and they worked with the Tolkien estate and all that other stuff to do that. Very interesting. And so what the thing was, that property was you could never put it on real film because everything was so elaborate to get it right. And now with digital, they can actually do it, just like they're doing all these Marvel stuff. But at that time, animation was the only way to do it.
No, so, totally. Well, thank you very much for coming on. We really appreciate it, man.
Chris, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thanks so much for tuning in. Go order the book. It's available May 3rd, 2022. So you have a time to get your pre-order put in. F.A.R.T, F-A-R-T with dots. Top secret. No kids allowed. The first book in the F.A.R.T Diaries series. Also go to youtube.com/Chris Voss. Hit the bell notification button. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss to see all the places we are on the internet. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. And we'll see you guys next time.